Welcome to the Hebrew alphabet, and we are on the last group of letters now. We're getting gradually through. We've done alphabet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, which has a final one, Lamed, Mem, which has the final one, Nun, which has a final one, Samach, and today you can see we're on the last line. We're doing Ayin. So here we go with Ayin. Ayin, which is written like this, but the word for this letter is Ayin, with this final nun. So it's got the Ayin itself, the letter, then the Yud and the Nun. Ayin is the 16th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's got a numerical value of 70, as I've said, up to 10. It just goes 1 to 10, and then suddenly we go 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. Its sound is almost silent. In modern Hebrew, it's sort of silent. In older Hebrew, it would have a slight sound to it. And its meaning is eyes, which parts of the body tend to be feminine and take a different plural to just regular plural. There's a dual plural, but more grammar than you need to know. As I said, the letters are divided into different parts of the speech apparatus where they come from. And Aleph, that very first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, has that sound of breath, almost silent. Ayin is also the silent letter, but originally it would have had a little bit more throatiness to it, and you can hear it more in people that are Eastern, what's called Mizrahi Jews, people that come from Eastern end of the Mediterranean, not the Mediterranean, of the Middle East, like Iraq and places like, and Iran and places like that. They speak it in the more it's got a more sound to it. So it's not so heavily pronounced on people that are more went out to the western side of the when they were exiled. So it's lost some of it. So it's almost a silent letter. And like Aleph and even Het and Khe really have very sounds to them. They're all in the throat. And the Aleph and Ayin tend to take on the sounds of the vowels that are associated with them, rather than have any sort of consonant sound to them. The Het and the Khe have some to it. And what does Ayin look like? It's usually, you'll see it more or less written like this. In the Torah scrolls, it will have this elaborate version of it, with these, as you've seen in previous weeks, these little bits on the top. And people say it's made either of a vav, or some people say an elongated yud, that very tiny letter, a yud, or vav, that long letter that connects up and down. And this zayin, this Z letter, it looks like it's a combination of the two. So some people say a vav or yud, and this sort of this zayin letter engraved into it. And it describes the eyes, and it looks a bit like two eyes peering out. Sometimes people put little eyes on it, on the top of it. Two eyes connected by the optic nerve back to the brain, and one's looking back to the samach that we did last week, and one's looking forward to the pay that we'll do next week. And I haven't talked at all about these tag-ins on the letters, and a lot of the letters have these little, what are called tag-ins. And tag-in or tag is Aramaic word. It sounds like price tag. I'm sure it comes from the same sort of root, having a tag. Tag or tagin, it's a decoration drawn over some of the Hebrew letters in the Jewish scrolls, particularly the 5 books of Moses, Sefer, the Sefer that we pull out of the Ark and unroll on Shabbat and read from. Also on the tefillin, the phylacteries that we put on in morning prayers, and the mezuzot that we have on our door frames, to have these elaborated letters with the tags on them. The Hebrew name, this is the Aramaic name, the Hebrew name for these tags on letters is keter, which means crown. It means crown in both of them. Keter you've heard about because we've had it in the Kabbalah. It's one of the Kabbalistic ideas of emanations of characteristics of God into the universe. So tag and keter both mean crown. And on Ayin, as you saw, there's 3 tagging on it. In modern practice, when they're writing scrolls and tefillin and mezuzah, there's a few letters that have 1 tag on them: Bet, Dalet, Hey, Het, Yud, and Kuf. And there's a mnemonic for it, but like there are for the double letters, Begad Kafar. So there are for this. But these letters, Gimel, Zayin, Tet, Nun, Ayin, that we're doing this time, Sadi and Shin, as far back as Talmudic times, so we're talking 2,000 years ago, have 3 tags on them. So there are different scrolls and different times and slightly different views on how many of these tags on which letters and when, in which books. The Talmud has a tale about it. It's a very beautiful tale about it that states that they were originally put up by God when God was giving the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai. Moses goes up to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, and he sees God engraving these tagin on some of the letters. And he said, "What's that about?" And God basically says, "Don't worry, Moses. You don't need to know right now. There will be somebody in about 1,500 years who will make a whole load of laws and ideas around these little tags on top of the letters." And that rabbi is Rabbi Akiva. He's a rabbi that comes at the sort of start of the Talmudic period, and he is martyred by the Romans because he refuses to convert to whatever religion they've got. So he is the one that sort of starts to make a whole load of ideas around these tagging. And in Kabbalah also, because they're called crowns, presumably, in Kabbalistic thought, each tag has special significance and meaning. It's not on all books and it's not on all letters, and the rules for them are beyond most people's ability to do. But Ayin is one of the letters that have it, and I haven't explained tags before when I've shown you those pictures, so I thought maybe at this stage it's time to tell you. Ayin, lots of nice words around Ayin. Ayin itself meaning eye, like peering out at you, this eye. Mod meaning pillar, like that holds things up, and also the pillar of clouds. Onim, which has this double N, one in the middle and one at the end. A lovely quality that people study in Musa, which is about self-improvement. The whole thing is really about self-improvement. Put your own oxygen mask on first, save yourself, make yourself better. So humility, anava, is one of them, and gentleness is also adinut. And pleasure comes up a lot, but not pleasure necessary of material things. There are other words for pleasure for that, but oneg, we talk about oneg Shabbat, the pleasure of Shabbat, the joy and pleasure of Shabbat. Another big word that comes up with Ayin is avoda, worship, which actually comes from service, to serve something, to be a servant. All comes from the same root. So we're all servants of some sort. We work for somebody else. And there's also the idea of false worship and perverse service of a fetish and therefore idolatry. Avodah zara, zara being a bad thing. So you're serving the wrong thing. And most of us serve the wrong thing at some point in the day. So we know we're always veering off to our egos and our own desires and are gradually pulled back. So we're always in that flux of serving something terrible, but most of us don't go extreme on it. Also the golden calf, serving a false idol, egel ha zahav, the skull zahav is golden, and this is the calf, the golden calf, which was very much about false service. So all these words. Ol is also the yoke, the burden that we place is placed on us, and also is something that we have to release ourselves from it, and we release ourselves and become independent. Independence, Atzmut, is also, we have a day, Independence Day. So Atzmut is about independence, being free of your yoke, but not free of service. You're still serving. If quite a nice idea that you're not free of everything. And Iver is a blind person. So Ayin has the eyes, and Iver has the eyes but is blind, cannot see. And so that's playing with also with the idea that you might have eyes but you're not really seeing things properly. So Ayin is this lovely sort of eyes that look out, but they also maybe don't see anything, don't see the truth. So the Hebrew letter Ayin, eyes, and therefore a lot to do with vision and seeing the lights that are in the universe, seeing the depths, visionary, being visionary as well. And Ayin, the idea that you see things that are real and beyond time. And so there's a lot of words that Ayin have that is associated with time as well. So et and Ayin turns up in hours, atid, future, avar, past, and even here, rega. You'll hear people say rega quite a lot. Rega, echad, wait a moment. Od, forever, and ad, eternity. So there's an idea these eyes are not just looking and seeing, but there is some vision, and the vision obviously is of something eternal. And to open our eyes to these future and past and have this vision. So it's a kind of an interesting idea. There's also a whole load of names I found on this lovely slide with lots of people's, girls and boys' names that are using Ayin. Girls' names that you would think maybe have other starts to them. Ofra, because you can put different vowels underneath the Ayin. And Ezra, which is means help, a helper as well. So they have these lovely names if you ever want to think about nice names to call people. The gematria of Ayin is 70, and that's also sort of wraps up a little bit with ideas of sight, because there are 70 names and 70 faces of God in the Torah, people say. And the ones we tend to think of are Elohim and Adonai, but there are lots and lots of other, El Shaddai. There's lots and lots of names of God in the Torah, and people say that there are 70, and they are sort of to do with the 70 faces or 70 aspects of God. So it's quite a nice idea. The 70 words of Kiddush, the prayers that we say over wine and making on Shabbat. There's also 70 nations originally in the Torah, 70 nations and languages. So when the Tower of Babel happens and everyone's speaking the same language, when God comes down and thinks, oh no, that's not a good idea, and stops that, 70 languages are formed. They're suddenly speaking Babylon, Babel. They're speaking in different languages, and so there's this idea of 70 languages and 70 nations, and 70 names of God. So I kind of like all of that. There's also, on the festival of Sukkot, there are 70 bulls that are sacrificed, And they're sacrificed for each of the nations. That's the point of those sacrifices at Sukkot. We're not just sacrificing for Jewish things. We're actually, or Israelite things, as it would have been at the time, we're sacrificing for all the nations of the world, Sukkot. And so there are 70 of them because there's 70 nations. In the Torah, if you look at the early people, they're living a very, very long life, 140 years, 170 years, but gradually in the time of Moses, it starts to be 70, 70 years and 10. A score is 20, so 3 times 20 is 60 plus 10. And that's said to be the lifespan of humans, and anything extra is a bonus. So you have 70 years and 10. The 70 souls, they say Jewish souls, they were Israelites. They were Jacob's family that went down into Egypt. So when the famine came, Joseph was already there looking after Pharaoh and the Egyptian people. And then all his brothers and their wives and their children and the households came down, and they're said to be 70 people at the start in that come down into Egypt. There's also 70 elders chosen by Moses when he's trying to rule and govern these thousands and thousands of people in the desert. And so that is kept, that idea of 70 is kept even in Talmudic times, when they decide to have this court, the Sanhedrin, which is a sort of head of all the courts, and they have 70 sages sitting in there. So 70 has a lot of significance to it. King David is said to have lived 70 years. There's said to be 70 cries of the soul during labor, during giving birth. This one I can't vouch for. And there's 70 years of the Babylonian exile after the first temple is destroyed, and the Israelites, a lot of them got dispersed, not all of them, but a lot of them got dispersed into exile. Hence that song, how can I sing the psalm, how can I sing the Lord's Prayer in a strange land? That's in Babylon, it's being sung. So the 70 years of exile until Cyrus allows the Israelites that are in Babylon back. And there are 2 words that I thought were quite interesting words that have a collective value of 70. Yayin, yayin being wine, has yud nun in it, and that adds up to 70. And sod, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, being secret, also adds up to 70. There's a lovely Latin phrase in vino veritas, in wine you speak truth. Maybe secrets are revealed when you are in wine, in your cups, as the English word says for it. So I quite liked this idea of these various 70s. The Sefer Yetzirah, it's the 10th single elemental letter out of the 12. So as I've told you, there are 3 mother letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin, which have these really elemental sorts of watery, fiery ideas. These elemental letters are the simple letters that are just formed in one version, whereas the double letters, are 7 of them, and they're the ones that can have the dot in them. So these are the ones that don't take the dagesh, they're just elemental letters. There's 12 of them, so of course they correspond to zodiac signs and months of the year, because in Hebrew there's also 12 months in a year. Except this year, there's always an exception. Every year there's every 19 years there's a leap year put in. In Western ways they do 30 and 31 day months, and this month happens to be 28. And then you put in an extra day every 4 years. well, in Hebrew calendar, all the months are 30 days, and you put in an extra month every 19 years, and we're in that month now. We're in first Adar, and we're about to have a second Adar as well after this month, so we get it twice. And so the festival of Purim comes up in Adar, and there's a small Purim in the first one and the main Purim in the second one, so this year. So the elementals are going to be the ones that do the months of the year and signify and bring a quality, because the letters have qualities to them, and so they bring a quality to their particular time of year. So we're in elemental 10 of 12. The sentence that it's related to in those 32 sentences of creation is the 28th sentence. In the form of God, he created them, us humans. We're in that first version, we're created as male and female. In the year, it's Capricorn in the year, and in the world, sorry, in the zodiac, it's in space, it's Capricorn. In the year, in time, it's Tevet, the month of Tevet, and in the body, because they all map onto parts of the body to bring that sort of idea of quality and type down, it's the left hand in the body. And so Ayin, as I said, is down here in the form of God. He created them, elemental 10. So we've almost finished all of the letters. So we're getting very much about into that time of the last chunk of letters. So thank you for being here all this time. And we'll end with the meditation. If you want to close your eyes and have a moment and just breathe in and out and make yourself comfortable. And just appreciate that breath coming in and out all the time. And feel it in your body, refreshing you. And also allowing anything that you don't want in you to just go, breathe back out into the universe. Lovely breath of release. And now think about this letter Ayin with these two eye shapes at the top that look out into the world and how we think the world is. There's a wonderful Talmudic expression. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. So our eyes look out and see, but everything we know, experience, believe, our prejudices, our cultures, whatever, influences how we see it. And now turn those eyes inwards. Think about how you see yourself. Is it very different to how other people see you? You can't influence how they see you, but you can influence how you see you. So maybe take those irons inside that, into that throat and down into that silent part of you. And see how you see yourself. And is that accurate? Is that how you want to be seen? Or have you put too many layers of outside into it? Maybe you should look into that pure, wonderful spirit inside you. And see that. And let your Ayin see that wonderful, wonderful part of you. That joyful, hopeful part of you. That part that celebrates being here. Maybe that will help you see the world differently. How you see yourself. And just take a couple more breaths. And open our eyes and come back into the